What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have yet another album review for you, and yet another one that I was anticipating because this is yet another band that I've been a fan of for a long time. And this is also an Ohio band, so it's kind of cool going over something from my own backyard, essentially. So today I'm going to go over the latest offering from Lopan, Get Well Soon, which ironically, I would have liked to have had John in on this one, but he is not well still. He's doing better, but again, I don't want him to be like super contagious and shit and get everyone sick, so he's resting up. Anyway, this also comes out on the 4th of April on Magnetic Eye Records. This band formed in 2005 in Columbus, Ohio. This is their 5th album overall. I got into this band with their 2nd album, Sasquanaut. I kind of picked it up on a whim. I saw, at least at that time, they were on Small Stone Records, which is a really cool, like, stoner metal-oriented label, I think from Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. I really ended up digging that album. I ended up picking up the follow-up, Salvador, and then the next one, Colossus. Both of them I thought were just good, riffy fun. I've seen this band live twice. The first time I saw them, they introduced themselves as Metallica as a joke, and it was pretty damn funny, and then proceeded to just have an absolutely awesome set. And yeah, I kind of alluded to it. This is flat out stoner rock / stoner metal. It kind of lurks between the two. You definitely have stuff that is a little bit heavier and chuggier and more aggressive, but a lot of this, I mean, it's just rooted in those like just old school, like kind of Caius and almost kind of Clutch-like riffs and such. It's a lot of fun, and that's what I expect from a band that named themselves after the villain from Big Trouble in Little China, which is like one of the greatest 80s movies of all time. Don't even bother arguing with me and saying it isn't, because you're just wrong. Now, while those earlier albums definitely had like this flat-out stoner rock sound, a lot of basement blues kind of worked in there, and again, like just some big, heavy riffs, it was their EP Intentions that saw them kind of branch out their sound, go for a little bit more melody, and maybe something slightly more modern. It did carry over to their last album, Solo, which I thought was really solid, but I was kind of missing that earlier sound where it was a little bit fuzzy, a little bit grittier. It was missing a little bit of that almost like 90s heaviness. Like, this is one of those bands I probably could bring up for the heavy but not metal or are they segment, because again, they kind of capture a heaviness that isn't explicitly metal. And there's a lot of stuff in here that's very comparable to like the desert rock scene, again with Caius, like Fu Manchu and stuff like that, but also like just good, hefty, modern rock. And I think on this album, they kind of blended a little bit of both eras of this band. Again, the eras aren't like super distinct from one another. This band is very consistent, but there is a little bit of a difference between the earlier and newer stuff, and this is kind of the balance that I was looking for. Every one of these songs is based on giant, catchy riffs. It's sometimes aggressive, it's sometimes a little bit more, I don't know, like bluesy, a little bit more rockin', but it's always catchy. Like, this band just knows how to write great hooks, great riffs, a lot of solid grooves. Right from the rip, the opening 2 tracks, The Good Fight and Northern Eyes, just are packed with killer hooks. Northern Eyes has this great broken down riff. It's a little bit more up-tempo, and the chorus on it is fantastic. And I'm gonna pretty much gush about their vocalist, Jeff Martin, because that dude has such an incredible voice. And the first time I saw them, I was like, man, that voice is coming from this guy, because he's a big dude, and you don't expect him to sound the way he sounds on here, but this guy just croons beautifully. Everything feels very heartfelt, it's energetic, he can get a little bit raspier at times, but for the most part, he is just delivering solid vocal hooks throughout every single track on here. Whether it's the heavier cuts in here like Wormwood, Ozymandias, Harper's Ferry, it doesn't matter, he always finds these just clever vocal phrasings, and his like fluttering vibrato on here is just so damn infectious. And musically, again, this is just backed by just catchy, solid riffs. Every single track on here just has these good bottom-heavy riffs. The production here, it kind of lurks between like the last one and I would say their earlier stuff. It's a little bit more warm sounding. The guitar tone in here is great. It's rich, it's full. It has this nice balance between like a more fuzzy kind of stoner rock sound and just like a little bit of like extra like heavy sizzle to it. Like, it's a little bit crispy. The bass tone is very warm, and the drums just sound very natural. Like, this sounds like what you get live. And vocally, one of the things I love about this band in general, and I wish I'd see a little bit more, is these vocals sound just incredibly natural. There are not a ton of effects on this guy's vocals. There are some vocal harmonies and such that, you know, just add like a little bit of additional flavor, but that's nothing that can't replicate live. There's like no auto-tuning. There's not a ton of different filters. And when the filters are used, it's used more for like an atmospheric effect, like the last track, Six Bells. There's a whole like stony bridge in there where all the music drops out. It's a more slow, brooding song. Again, big hooks, big riffs, but there's a nice drop out in the middle of the song, and it kind of builds back up with this isolated riff and a slow kind of lumbering drum pace with ghost notes in it. And then you hear the vocals come in and they have that sort of like spacey effect where they're kind of like warbled and oscillating a bit. That's about it as far as like vocal processing on here. The rest of this sounds as natural as, you know, you would hear them when you see them live, which I definitely recommend. And honestly, this is like one of those bands that I feel like could appeal to people that listen to a lot of like mainstream rock. Like, it's definitely better than a lot of the fucking mainstream rock bands that I'm thinking of in terms of like the more popular ones, like, you know, like Breaking Benjamin, or I would say like Chevelle. I don't know how popular these bands are anymore, but those are the ones I kind of think of for this sound. But this is comparable to a degree where it is about riffs, melodies, and hooks. Every song has a strong sense of melody. All the choruses really do jump out. But this band tries harder, I would say, in terms of like nuance and songwriting. Like, not everything on here is verse chorus. There's a lot of songs that just have like interesting flows, and rhythmically this band is a ton of fun. There's frequently like little off time or offbeat hitches in the songs to where they would just kind of like let the riff extend out a little bit more, like, you know, kind of lengthen the measure and then come in on an offbeat to kind of bring the groove back. Lots of like bluesy licks, but this band gets flat out heavy at times too. That's kind of always been a part of their sound, and I've always liked that. Like, those little fun like offbeat hitches I think are fun, especially in stoner rock, because generally a lot of this stuff is about like grooves, and hearing like a fun swing in the rhythm on top of like some good stony riffs, that's just awesome. I'm listening to Clutch in the background right now, and they're doing that right now, and I'm trying not to like headbang and kind of like just groove to it, but it's just a fun little trope I like. And, you know, comparably, like, this band is more rooted in, I would say, like, bands like that. Like, there's definitely some early Queens of the Stone Age in here in terms of some of the atmospheric sections, but also like some more underground acts like ASG. In fact, ASG I find very comparable because I feel like the whole vibe, the whole direction of their sound is very similar, because they want to write good, heavy songs, but they also want to make sure that they write catchy hooks, something infectious, like a lot of earworms. And to a degree, this band kind of reminds me of an old Cleveland band that I'm not even sure is even around anymore, Disengage, which kind of wrote alt metal / stoner rock that was very much in the same vein too. Again, just riff driven and catchy as hell. Tonally, a lot of this feels very heartfelt. Like, you know, there's definitely like an urgency to a lot of the songs. They're raucous, they're fun, they're catchy, but when it comes down to, again, the vocals, they definitely emote a lot. There's a lot of like beautiful crooning on here. Occasionally they do get like a little bit darker and a little bit more doom-laden. Harper's Ferry, the chorus on that one is a little bit more downtrodden, but it feels like it's kind of like pulling itself out of the darkness. And there's some great harmonized guitar work in here, which the guitar work in here is very much what I expect from this band. It's riff-driven. There are not a lot of like technical riffs, but there's some stuff in here that kind of caught me off guard a bit. Like, there's definitely more atmospheric moments, and this band is really not known for leads, but there's a couple of leads on here that are just drenched in wah effects. Again, like more atmospheric, a lot of bluesy licks mixed in. I'm pretty sure there were some leads on Subtle, but it didn't stand out as much as they do here. Also, while most of this is very mid-tempo, there are some faster numbers on here. Stay With the Boat is a little bit more up-tempo, a little bit more raucous and energetic. It still has a ton of big fat grooves on it, but that's like every song in here. Every song in here just has these fun, groovy moments where you're just gonna be like either banging your head or shaking your ass. Like, this has just got like a fierce boogie to it. Rogue Wave in particular just has this fun little like hitch in the rhythm that is just infectious as hell. And that one kind of like shows off a little bit of that 90s heavy that I was talking about, because the riff on it honestly sounds like it could have been on like Tool's Undertow, like before they got more toolish, I guess you could say. And as catchy as this is, I would say at no point does it come across as like cheesy or reaching for the radio. Again, their song structure, the little nuances that they throw in, kind of keep it just a little bit too clever for you know, like maybe the more mainstream audiences. Like, I think they got the hooks for it, but none of it feels generic. Like, hell, there's not even like a cheesy ballad on here. Really no room for it. This thing's too chock full of riffs to squeeze a fucking weepy song in here. But that doesn't mean it's not packed full of emotion and dynamics and just, again, clever hooks. In terms of any complaints on here, I mean, I suppose you could say like some of the songs have a very similar vibe, which I kind of like that vibe. Like, I kind of was living in this vibe. But I do think they break it up enough to where, you know, the songs have room to breathe. Like, yeah, there's a lot of like very similar riffs, but again, it's kind of rooted in like the stoner rock sound, which, I mean, it's worshiping at the altar of Black Sabbath, which I will never have a problem with. I could have done with some more like atmospheric songs. Like when they decide to like draw out a song and do like a long drawn out, like just that super spacey cosmic stoner rock thing that, you know, a lot of killer bands do. I think they do it exceptionally well. It's something they've done really well in the past, but I'm really not complaining there. This is loaded with enough killer riff changes to keep me occupied. I enjoyed the listen through and through, and honestly, I'm going to give this 4 stars. I see this as an improvement over the last one, and I think this is kind of a good bridge between the earlier material and them maybe trying to like, you know, modernize their sound or at least kind of like clean it up a bit. Production was a big thing in here just because it kind of captured a little bit of that like just rock grittiness that they had in the earlier albums, but it still sounds crisp and clear. The vocals on here, again, this dude I think is just an incredible singer. He really drives the songs. He's a big emotional connection to the songs too. I think even the lyrics are very heartfelt. They're very well thought out. The whole album flows well, and if you're just a riff junkie, which if you like stoner rock, you should be, because honestly that's a subgenre in metal where riffs just flat out flourish. You will probably dig this. Again, if you're a big fan of, I mean, you know, Black Sabbath's in there, of course, but ASG in particular, I would say, and definitely like Clutch, Queens of the Stone Age, and of course, Caius. Definitely check this band out. Check out their other stuff too, and definitely go see this band live. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They're only 99 cents, and our lone perk is doing a members-only live stream, which we'll probably be doing one later this month for sure. Not sure what it'll be about, but it'll be about something, and it'll probably be fun because we pretty much answer whatever you guys ask, even if it's a really weird question. Actually, we kind of prefer the weird questions because those are fun. Anyway, memberships are the main way to support the channel now. We also still have our store, thrallsmetal.com, with our t-shirts and hats. That is linked down below in the video description. And right in that area, or above it, is a join button to become a member, if you would like. I recommend it. I think it's kind of cool, but that's just me, and I might be more than a tad biased. Either way, it's down below, waiting to be smashed. That sounds dirty, but, you know, I don't care. You can just touch that button with whatever appendage you got, even if it's not your own. And of course, thank you guys so much for liking, subscribing, following, all that stuff. It means the world to us. Again, it's amazing seeing this channel grow. We have a ton of content planned for you. We got to get, you know, John feeling better, which hopefully that's really soon. We have some discussion pieces we're working on too. I'm also working on a lot of States of Metal stuff, and of course, collection updates. At the Gates ranking eventually at some point, maybe after we get back from MDF. I don't know. There's a lot of planning going on with that. And again, we'll be at MDF for the entire festival. So if you see us, you know, come up, say hi, talk about some metal for a bit. Just don't do it while the band's playing, because honestly, I'm probably not paying attention. Either way, one more big thank you, because you guys are all awesome, and we will catch you later.